Let me see. I think I don't have your, there we go. Now I hear you.
Okay, how is the microphone? Because I had to go out and buy a new mic.
Oh, it seems good.
Okay, great, great, great.
Yeah. I need to shut my door so I don't get noise. I guess it's done. Okay. Oh, you look all ready to go. So I like your background.
Thank you very much. I received my the public relations stand that was given out by the National Archives. That's what you see. The colored sign is over there.
Okay.
Today, and it was really, really nice.
Uh-huh.
I had ordered before we had the pandemic to do some displays at the library.
Okay. So I'm going to try to get this going on Facebook Live. It might take me just a moment, but then we will get this show on the road. And I do really appreciate you all agreeing to participate and to have this recorded.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's important for voters to see and hear from the people that are looking to represent them.
Absolutely.
Well, it is slowly taking me to Facebook, and there I know I have to do a couple of little buttons, and then I'll get back with you and we'll get this show on the road. And it is very slow. So I perhaps should have done this before.
It's probably because of the weather. It's been like that for everybody recently. So don't be upset.
Yeah, thank you.
Believe me, even me myself, I was having issues the last couple of days because of the weather, and believe me, I'm very tech savvy.
Yeah, it's very overcast here, and we're actually finally getting a little bit of rain. It certainly has threatened a lot, but
a little bit. Wow, we've been getting poured.
Really? So we've just got a little bit of a stream going on. So
I know yesterday it was pouring sideways.
We're getting ready to roll. Okay, it looks like it's going. So we're going to get started. So good evening. Welcome. I'm Gail Formanak, co-president of the League of Women Voters, the Villages Tri-County area, which covers Lake, Marion, and Sumter counties. I will serve as of the Meet the Candidate Forums. And my timekeeper and right hand tonight is co-president Bonnie Field. There she is. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan organization celebrating its 100th involved in shaping the important policy issues that keep our community and state strong. As League members, we have the opportunity to educate ourselves and others on local, state, and national issues. Wants everyone to vote. And so we actively encourage participation at the polls through voter registration and education efforts, such as this forum and our online voters guide, vote411.org. In addition, our local Speakers Bureau offers education on topics such as constitutional amendments that will be appearing on the ballot in November, and other topics such as the history of women's suffrage and separating fact from fiction in the news. I encourage you to visit our website at LWV-FL to learn more about our work. And we are happy to present our Meet the Candidates program. Under normal circumstances, we would book a room and invite the broader community to attend. But with the current health crisis, we're forced to use this virtual format and are hoping all the technology pieces cooperate tonight. We would typically ask audience members to submit questions. However, that type of interaction just didn't seem manageable to us. And so league members were asked to submit questions in advance, and we hope that those asked tonight cover the issues of concern to you. I would ask that all members watching live via Zoom keep their video and microphones off during the duration of the meeting. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on the League's website in the very near future. So let's get started. Each candidate will make an opening statement of up to 3 minutes, explaining their qualifications and interest in holding this office. This will be followed by questions, with each candidate having the opportunity to respond for up to 90 seconds. We typically would determine order of response by drawing a card, but since that wasn't possible, we will just simply default to alphabetical order and then rotate through the order of who answers first. So tonight's candidates featured are on the primary ballot for the Florida State House, Legislative District 32, which is largely Lake County. The current incumbent has no opposition in the primary, so tonight's participants are all appearing on the Democratic ballot. Okay, the first question is going to go to Stephanie Dukes. Oh, excuse me. First person to speak tonight with their opening remarks will be Stephanie Dukes. Stephanie, go ahead. 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's event. As we celebrate the 100th year of the woman's right to vote, we're very excited. We're excited to really be able to represent Lake County District 32 with a woman in seat 32. I am a graduate of Florida State University and University of South Florida. I'm a retired teacher. I became a teacher because I loved doing things to help others. One of that passion was to help others get accomplished what they wanted done, not what I wanted done. That's why I am running for this position as a representative of your voice. I have listened throughout about the things that were going right and those things that you had a passion about through our coffee and conversation. Things such as education, unemployment, better affordable housing for those who could not afford because of low wages. So I stepped up to the plate to be your voice, to be your representative, to talk about what matters to you, the residents of Lake County. This seat is not for me. This seat is truly for the representative of the people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Linda Curo, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Linda Curo. I want to thank you all again for having the forum tonight and inviting us to speak. I look forward to answering all your questions and getting to know, letting people getting to know me a little better. I am a resident of Florida since 2017. I've visited Florida for the past 20 years with my husband, and we fell in love with Florida and specifically Lake County, and dreamed of retiring here, and we were very fortunate to be able to do that. Since I've been here in Florida, I have been volunteering with the Lake County Democratic Party. I am a precinct captain, and also I worked as the office manager for headquarters here in Lake County. And during my time volunteering with the Lake County Democratic Party, I got an opportunity to get firsthand knowledge of all the issues that were going on here in Lake County, and got to really get to know people and have people get to know me. And I see a need for someone who's willing to get in and get their hands dirty and actually go to the meetings and be part of the process to help to solve the problems. As you all know, the representative is for the district. It isn't about me or what I can do to make myself grander. It is about what we can do to help Lake County to be the best, specifically District 32, to be the best that it can be, to be represented in Tallahassee with honesty and with respect for human rights, with responsibility and with civility. We have to go forward in Tallahassee, and Florida, you all know, has been very long time governed by Republicans, and the process is a little hard to get involved when there's so much partisanship. There's so much divisiveness in our country today. So I look forward to being able to make relationships in Tallahassee that will help us to further the people's interests in a way that is bipartisan, that both parties will feel as though they are getting what they need and deserve, and stop the harassing of mine and yours, them and us. We really need to go forward and make it a unified front so that we can better our education, so that we can get health care, so that we can do everything that's needed to do. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, Ryan Morales, our 3 minutes are starting.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for having me here. More or less, usually what I want to say is I'm a son, a brother, a husband, but most importantly, I'm a father who's worried about the future of Florida, most especially for my children, but most especially for everybody here in the state of Florida. I'm also a local business owner and a local football coach. So, you know, I have some skills that, you know, can be useful up in Tallahassee. I'm a very good solution finder, you know, and as a coach, that's kind of one of the things that we do. We find the problems in the children that we coach, and we try to make sure that we find the solution to make them better at that. So we have a lot of issues right now in the state of Florida, and not just Lake County. And right now, one of the biggest issues that we have is this current COVID situation, which has really put a damper on a lot of people. Not only their businesses, but a lot of people not being able to pay their bills, not being able to put food on the table and stuff like that. Right now, this wasn't the original reason why I decided to run. The original reason why I decided to run was because I didn't like what I saw with Anthony Sabatini, and I was focusing on making sure we take him out. Now things have evolved and changed a lot more. So right now I'm really making sure that we're running to take care of the people of Lake County and the state of Florida. The Republican Party has done us wrong with this unemployment fiasco and people not getting paid. You know, we're literally risking the lives and the mental health of a lot of people right now. You know, people don't know what to do. They're scrounging for scraps. They're going to get donations. They're trying to get, you know, whatever they can from the local food pantries or from their local churches. And this is not the way it should be. We could have avoided all this if we would have handled this crisis properly from the get-go. They should have just tested rapidly and isolated the people rapidly, but no, now we're in this situation. And how many months is it now? I mean, this is just ridiculous. Since March, we're over 5,000 dead here in the state of Florida alone. This is ridiculous. We're going to be missing a lot of money when it comes to the budget. So I'm looking to go up to Tallahassee to make sure that we take care of these issues, make sure that, you know, whatever cuts do have to be made because of the budget deficit, that we do it properly, making sure that we think of the people first. My main thing is really just making sure that we focus on issues that take care of people. Not, we got to put an end to these crony contracts, and we really just need to be focused on moving to the future, getting things future-proofed. We have an issue with things not being future-proof, and I'd like to make sure that we take care of all these things. Thank you again, and I look forward to questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so The first question will go to Linda Kiro. The state's economy has taken a big hit due to the shutdown of most businesses during the early days of the pandemic, along with an ongoing decline in tourism. Democratic legislators have requested a special session to address the state's economic outlook. Republican leadership wants to wait until after the election. So my question is two-part. Do you think lawmakers need to meet for immediate action on the state's economy? And if so, why or why not? And what would you propose to be a possible option or options to make up for the lost revenue? Linda, you can take that first.
Oh, thank you for that question. To start at the beginning, yes, I think that we should, our legislators should get back to work right away. I think that they're not doing all that they can and should be doing to address the seriousness of this issue. We know that the state has got to have a budget. We've got to have a balanced budget next year. And with the shortfall of our revenues, the more we postpone talking about how we can increase our revenues, the less time we're going to have to actually do it, to actually make those things happen. So yes, I think they should get back to work right away. And I think that, unfortunately, I can't see that it's going to get a lot better quicker if the governor doesn't stand up and say to put a mask on. I don't think that our confidence level, our consumer confidence level is very high. I know we all want to go out and we all want to spend our dollars, but if it isn't safe and if coronavirus is continuing to multiply and exponentially the way that it is, I can't imagine that we're going to get restaurants open, or if they are open, which they are open right now at 50%, I don't think the seats are full at 50%. So, and that's just one example. Tourism isn't really taking a great big turn. I know Disney is open, but they don't have the number of people that they would like to have at the gates. So yeah, I think that our legislators should get back to work, figure out how we're going to increase revenues, but first and most importantly, how are we going to stop this spread of coronavirus? And I really wish the governor would say wear masks. I wish that they would get over it and just tell people that it's necessary to follow the CDC recommendations. I know the schools are going to continue to open. I've been to the school board meetings and I'm disappointed that we don't have an option of saving our teachers' jobs or their we should not be opening the schools. We should be doing things that are more productive, like trying to figure out how we're going to increase our revenues. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to Ryan. You have 90 seconds to address this. 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm so sorry.
Sure. The state's economy has taken a big hit due to the shutdown, of course, of the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Democratic legislators have requested a special session to address the problems, but the Republicans don't want to go back until after the election. So do you think it's necessary to go back?
Yes, I do.
And what would you do to help propose to take care of the shortfalls? Okay.
So one of the big things that we need to do, number one, is get everybody back into office to really do their job. That's what we have them for, and that's what they're supposed to do. And most of the state and the people in the state have actually requested for them to go back to work because we have some issues to deal with. One of the biggest issues right now is that we need to raise the cap on the unemployment. The 275 does not cut it for a lot of people in this state, and that's really, and on top of the fact that it's about to be cut off completely for a lot of people with the $600 disappearing. So there's still people that haven't been paid, period. So that's why we need to get these people back to work, because not only have these people not been paid, but a lot of people have not been able to open their businesses. So there's a lot of businesses that feel like they're being treated badly because of this, because they're not being allowed to open, which is really not their fault. This whole pandemic was nobody's fault of, that's a business owner here in the state of Florida. So it's been a tough moment for everybody. So we need to figure out what's going to be the best for everybody. Getting these guys to go to session would be great. if I was to be part of that whole session, my focus would be figuring out how to resolve the unemployment fiasco right now, so that way people can pay their bills and can pay their mortgage, can pay their rent, and we don't have to worry about people getting evicted. Right now, that's the biggest problem we're going to face. We are going to have a major eviction crisis here in the state of Florida. If that moratorium does not get extended one more time, we're going to see people out in the streets come August. So they need to go up there to do their job and make sure that we stop that from happening, because if that happens, the economy here is just going to fall apart. Things are just not going to be the same, and people are going to be mad. We cannot have people doing, mad, because that's just when you start creating bigger problems. More civil unrest is not what we need. We need to bring in peace right now, and we need to bring resolve to the people. So what I'm looking forward is making sure that our legislators go up there, do their job, and bring peace and resolve to everybody right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, Stephanie, you good with the question?
Yes, I am. I'm good with the question. Thank you. This is one of the reasons that we need a full-time legislature. Those of you who are not familiar, you see your legislators year-round, but legislation only happens as a part-time in the state of Florida. So the first thing I would suggest is that we need full-time legislators. Then when crises come up, we're already in legislative mode continuously. And we have seen this happen continuously year after year. So that would be my first thing, is that we need full-time legislators to handle crisis. Otherwise, we continuously give the power to the governor and the party who is in power, instead of having balanced and equal power. The second thing to that question is, how do we then deal with the crisis that we're in, such as Ryan and Linda have talked about, that we have an unemployment issue. We have a fact that people will be homeless. People are hungry. They will not be able to feed their children, keep on their lights, as well as have somewhere to stay. Now, how do we handle that as a state? What I would propose is that we put a penny tax on. Andrew Carnegie talks about in the Gospel of Wealth. He talks about the responsibility of the wealthy during crisis, particularly as this. How do we use the wealth appropriately? And I would say for my water bottling companies who pay a minimum amount, that we put a penny tax, step up and help out during our time of crisis. If we put a penny tax on the gallons that are taken from the state of Florida, we can help balance and get through this crisis, do exactly what Ryan talked about. Keep the unemployed in their homes and keep them fed. We need you businesses to step up and help out the state of Florida. It's residents who you depend upon to keep your businesses going. Let's keep the money flowing like we want the water. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to ask my timekeeper, Bonnie, if she could change her timer to 90 seconds, 1 minute, 30 seconds. I think we went a little long on this first one, and we've got a lot of great questions ahead. So we're going to move on past the COVID-19. In the following question about education, public school is defined as schools that fall under the direct control of an elected county school board. So if you have children, did or do you send them to public, private, or charter schools? And why did you make that decision? I'm going to go with Mr. Morales next.
So one of the main reasons I am running is because I do have two young, beautiful girls in this public school system. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. The 5-year-old's going into kindergarten, and my 7-year-old's going into second grade. I'm a product of public schools. I believe in public schools. To me, public schools are an essential part of our country. Without the public school system, I mean, where would we be right now? We would have a lot of people that wouldn't know what they're doing or what they're saying or how to talk or how to write. So to me, public school needs to be a priority. Let's see the 1 minute mark. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You've got 1 more minute, so.
No, I'm good. So public school is important. My daughters go to school here, and to me, Pine Ridge Elementary, where they go to school, is a phenomenal school. I love the staff. I believe Miss Obando and the whole crew there are just amazing, and I really feel bad for what's going on with this COVID stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting the girls back to school, but they're definitely not going back to school just yet. With the 9-week period thing, we're gonna just try them from home for the next few weeks, and then see if the COVID dies down a little bit, so we could send them back to full time in school. But right now, we're being very cautious with that. So, but yes, my girls go to public school.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stooks, you're up next on this one.
Thank you very much. As a school teacher, I have not birthed children, but I do have stepchildren and had the privilege of co-parenting with a family member. I myself was able to use the option of public school, but a school of choice because of my niece's learning style, her gifted level. We had to find the appropriate placement to keep her engaged. I also taught at an alternative school that young boys who were in the 6th grade came to me on a 1st grade reading level. So we needed a specialized schooling. I am also the member of a church that we have a chartered school program. By having that program, I was able to see, dropouts, 21 years old, who were able to come back to that charter school and get an education. One thing doesn't fit all, and we must find that is appropriate, but all programs must work by the same rules. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Carroll.
Well, I do not have young children. I do have a son. He's an adult, and he went to public school in Illinois. I am a Chicago public school graduate, so I do believe in public school. I do believe in choice, but I don't believe that that charter schools or private schools should be able to have funding from tax dollars, but yet not be required to report to the same governing body, the same board that public schools report to. I believe strongly that all schools should be on a level playing field, and they should all be required to do the same rigorous testing, the same rigorous reporting to the same body, so that we have the information that we need to find out what schools truly are best for our children. Florida is the 2nd state in the country to have the most charter school closures, but we don't know why, because they're not required to report that information. So if I did have children, young children, I'm sure that they would go to public school. And this is a big issue on why I am running. I am very interested in the level of funding that our public school education is currently getting from Tallahassee, and why we are not getting the funds that we that we need, that we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Here's the next question, and the first person to respond will be Stephanie. Because of the Florida Department of Education's district cost differential, some funding from Lake County taxpayers is going to larger, wealthier school districts. The legislature adjusted the formula last session, but it still meant that larger districts got more money. How would you address this unfair funding formula, which hurts our Lake County schools?
Thank you very much. Yes, very much so. And we find that the unfair distribution of the funds continuously impacts our school districts, and particularly when we grade schools. We have A, B, C, D. The majority of our schools here in Lake County are C schools. We do last term had a D and an F school. We have to address the fact that when the lottery was passed, the lottery money was supposed to enhance education. Florida is the 45th state for funding out of 50. That has to change. So the first thing I would do would address the way that the lottery money is allocated, and that the budget money, it should be additional, not taken away from us. And that Lake County would then get its appropriate share so that we can have our schools, resources, technology, as well as our buildings up to standard and code, particularly with COVID-19. There's a lot of money going to have to be spent in retrofitting the schools and our infrastructure when we go send our children, our babies, back into an environment that must be safe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Linda, next.
I think one of the things that I would try to do is write legislature that stops the current method of funding, you know, from large to small. We should basically not have our school systems decided by, delineated by our real estate. If the money, everybody pays their taxes, and that money goes to the state government, and then the state government should send that money back to each school on a per child basis. And then therefore we would get the money that we need and deserve here. We are the 18th largest school district here in District 32, yet we are paid on at the 47th level in the state, 47th districts out of 67. That's not right or equitable. What would be right and equitable is every house in the state sends their money to the capital then delineates how many children are in each school, and that is how the school should be funded. Also, it would help with some other issues as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Ryan, same question for you.
Yes, ma'am. So one of the biggest things that we need to do is really just add an additional variable to that formula that these legislators are working on. There needs to be a variable that takes into account the amount of help the actual school needs. If it's a failing school, it should actually be getting more funding, so it's not a failing school anymore. The goal should be to make every school A school, not a B, not a C, not a E or an F or whatever. We need them all to be A schools. So how do we do that? So yes, funding is going to be super important. We need to make sure that we, allocate the right funds to where they need to go. But, giving more money to a preferred school does not make sense to me. You need to focus on the schools that are failing in order for them to succeed. How can you take away funds from schools that are hurting and failing? You're doing a disservice to our people, to our children. This is not right. So we need to pretty much go up there, put our foot down, and really just get to the bottom of this whole funding thing and really figure out what is the best solution. I believe adding that variable in there is going to make a difference, because there's a lot of schools that, yes, they work hard and they should deserve a lot more money and all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, you're doing well, you're doing well. We need to focus on the schools that need the help. So that's what I look forward to doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this next question, the first responder will be Linda. What legislation or policies will you promote to ensure quality, affordable health care access for all Floridians over the short and long term?
Actually, I think that is a multi-issue. First of all, Florida should expand Medicaid. There's no question about that. It would not cost us money. In fact, it would increase our revenues over time. Over the first 5 years, for sure, it would increase them quite a bit. And we really could use that revenue right now. But more importantly, we have a lot of people and not enough doctors. But what we do have are nurse practitioners. Unfortunately, the state of Florida does not allow nurse practitioners to practice without a doctor. And that doesn't help us in communities where there are no doctors. We have nurse practitioners there that are very qualified, but we don't allow them to practice. So as far as accessibility, I think if we could pass some legislation to allow nurse practitioners to go forward and practice on on the level to which they are trained, I think we could increase our access. But more importantly, we need to expand Medicaid so that we don't have as many children without medical care. That in the long run will help the state overall. The more health care we can give children now, the less of a burden they will be on our state later. So that would be very important for me to do.
Okay. And next up will be Ryan.
So I believe in universal health care. Anything to get to that goal is my goal. Expanding Medicaid is actually just a stepping stone in the right direction for me. So I believe we need to do a lot more than just that, especially now with this COVID-19. Anybody that survives this and has been in the hospital is going to know that that bill is not going to be a pretty bill. I would imagine it's probably going to be the size of a house mortgage, or, you know, maybe even more. So we need to make sure that we go up there and we just really focus on what's going to be best for the people. So yes, currently at the moment, probably the easiest thing to do is really focus on expanding Medicaid. But in the long term, like I said, my goal is focusing, and this is a federal issue, and I know that, so it would be really focusing on pushing for universal health care for all, because we are the only first world country that does not provide that to their citizens. And I just find it completely appalling and just odd, the fact that we're supposed to be the best country in the world and we can't do that for our own people. I'd like to see healthy people. I'd like to focus on more preventative care. I'd also like to embrace technology a little better. I know that there's applications that you could telecommunicate with doctors and nurses. Why? Because I use one. That's how I see my doctors now. And I think we need to start focusing in that direction. So let's future-proof this. Let's go forward from here, and let's give everybody healthcare like we need it. Thank you.
Okay. And Stephanie.
Thank you. I agree with Ryan and Linda on we need to expand Medicare. But not only do we need to expand Medicare, Florida needs to step up and be the premier state in taking care of its citizens. Let's show the way. Not only show the way, but be the way. With the dismantling of Affordable Care Act, we have a lot of youngsters who do not have children, who will not be covered under the expanded Medicare bill. That we need to make sure we design a program that we cover the single person who wants to take all the chances and not be able to afford health care. So they get sick, particularly during COVID-19. That still burdens our system because they're not able to pay the bill, but they are going to require the health care. So I would go and be for designing a program that makes Florida lead the way in taking care of its healthy people, keep us strong so that we can stay employed to take care of our tourism business, to take care of our self-employment. Healthcare, Florida, healthcare. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question, we'll start with Linda. Do you believe the state legislature should restrict access to reproductive health care, including contraception and abortion?
No, 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 no. I don't believe that the legislature has the right to do that. I will fight that very strongly. I believe my health care is my choice, and that if I pay for my insurance, that I should be allowed to have all female health options available to me. And it is my choice, my God, my morality, my choice of how I deal with my body. So I know that there's a lot of controversy about this subject, but I feel very strongly about this, and for good reason. If not legalization, I don't think that today I would have the same opportunities that I have, and I don't think it's right to force any person, female or male, to live a life that is not right for them. So I would fight for our right in medical care, our choice of medical care.
Okay, thank you. The next to address that question will be Ryan.
Great. I love this one. So, sorry, I just had a joke with that one. I don't agree that we should be focusing on legislation that forces people to take drastic measures elsewhere. We need to keep abortions safe. We need to keep them accessible. It's the problem with the right is that they believe that it's being used as a form of contraceptive itself, and it's really not. People make mistakes. We always say that we need to learn to forgive and move ahead, and that's really what we need to understand. Is that number one, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going up there to pretend I'm a doctor, so I have no reason to tell somebody what they can and cannot do with their body, because guess what? I'm not their doctor. That's not my specialty, and it shouldn't be the specialty of any legislator. We should believe our scientists. I'm a firm believer in science. I believe that the science proves enough data that says that it is safe, it is needed, and it is something that we need to make sure that we ensure for all women, and it's just the right thing to do. So I will definitely be fighting for this tooth and nail, because I don't understand how somebody can defend the Second Amendment but not defend the Fourth Amendment. This has been decided already by Roe versus Wade. It is part of our Fourth Amendment clause, and we will protect that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And lastly on this question, Stephanie. No, sorry, you answered that. You started. I'm sorry. New question for Stephanie. She is
started.
No, you're good.
No,
you're good, Gail. She actually she was missing on this one.
Oh, you were missing? Okay.
Yeah, Stephanie needs to answer. She's good. You started with Linda.
Okay, Stephanie, back to you on the healthcare, the reproductive health.
Abortion.
Yeah. Contraception and abortion. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. I do believe that in today's society, because we have access not only to health care, but access to education, we're able to make better informed decisions about making a decision. No woman takes it lightly when she makes a decision about having something happen to her body, a traumatic event. So I believe in a woman's right to choose, because we have education. She makes those choices not only by herself, she makes them with her mate. She makes them with her health care provider. So I believe in contraceptive, so we don't have to get to the decision of using an abortion as a form of contraception. That's why we do need laws, so that those who may abuse them and are not properly educated knows, just like we have a speeding, say 55. You get caught at 65, and that's why we have decisions and no late-term abortions, things when decisions should be found out and talked about, and decisions made early. Decisions made with your doctors, such as something happened in a late-term pregnancy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now I think I have my order straight, so we'll continue. This question will go to Linda first. What is your plan to preserve, protect, and restore Florida's water resources, coastal communities, and delicate ecosystems for future generations?
I don't mind going first, but I went first last time too. You want me to go?
Yeah. Oh my, I'm mixed up.
I'll go first if you want. That's okay. I don't mind.
Okay, go ahead.
Go.
And I'll fix it up next time. Okay.
Okay, so again, this is on, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. One more time, please.
Okay, it is, how would you plan to preserve, protect, and restore Florida's water resources, coastal communities, and their delicate ecosystems?
Well, first, I believe that we need to stop fracking. Everybody, I think, is going to be on board with that. It's dangerous to our state. It's dangerous to our ecosystems. Secondly, I think that we need to address the situation that we have currently going on with the bottling companies removing fresh water from our aquifer. And And they're doing it for free, basically. We're allowing them. So this kind of ties back to the revenues that, for me anyway, I believe that the Florida Department of Revenue should include water as one of those natural resources, as they do with oil, as they do with lime rock, as they do with sand, that they charge people, companies, to remove those uh, minerals and gases from our land with an excise fee or taxing, as Stephanie, suggested. So those things I think we need to do. We definitely need to stop the free-for-all of taking water out. But more importantly, I think that those companies that are taking things out also should have an excise fee of, for instance, the bottling companies. We should do something about how many bottles, plastic bottles we have. We should maybe allow them to help with building desalinization plants, because we know that Southern Florida is already having salt in their well. Thank you very much for the question.
Okay, thank you. Now, Ryan, your turn.
All right. So I actually live in the heart of the green swamp here in Florida. So water protection is hugely important for me, my neighbors, and everybody around me. So one of the biggest things that we discuss when it comes to this is actually septic systems. We need to really move forward into the future and force developers to use more of the newer septic systems that are available, that are much safer, much more contained. They don't actually leak into our land, which leaks into our water. We sit right on top of the aquifer, so it is super important that we keep this safe as possible. I know we have a problem with the developer coming in here, somehow figured out a way to put 200 homes in an area where there's only supposed to be 20 homes. And that's just really a cause for concern, because if anything were to happen, especially in that area, which is so fragile in the swamp, if they were to make one mistake, that's just a bunch of poop all over the place, and we cannot have that. So my big focus really is making sure that we get septic tank systems. Number one, regulations need to be upgraded, so that way we're looking forward to the future and making sure that we're protecting all our drinking water. Also, hemp is going to be a great filtration system as well to help clear up some of these red algae problems that we have with our tourist waters, because we need to protect all waters, not just our drinking water. So yeah, look forward to making sure that we take care of everything. As somebody who's been endorsed by the Environmental Caucus recently, it is a big issue for me. So thank you.
Okay, and Stephanie.
Thank you. Florida is a wonderful place. We have water, the peninsula, we have water on all three sides of us. But the water that is most important to us is the water that we, from our aqua filter. We really have to take care of it. I won't repeat what Ryan and Linda have already said. To add to that, I would say this, that we must have the funding in Tallahassee for the program that is called Florida Forever. As Ryan talked about the Green Swamp, and there's several other places here in our district that we need to make sure the appropriation of funding is there to purchase those lands, to add, to make sure they are protected, and we don't have to worry about the fracking. We don't have to worry about taking out too much water from them, because those will be protected lands, and it's Florida forever. Let's fund it and fund it properly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now get back to the correct order. Ryan goes first on this. Do you believe the state should pass laws that put restrictions on assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines for civilian use? Please explain.
So yeah, there should be restrictions. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is my Level Up Gun program that I look to introduce. What it does is it pretty much puts the bigger weapons towards the later point of your life, meaning you cannot access those weapons until you prove that you are a good citizen, an outstanding citizen, or any of these things, through years prior. A lot of the problem with guns and all that stuff is that we need better education. We need to teach people how to better resolve conflict. The gun should never be the first thing that you go for. So, for me, the gun issue is a multifaceted issue that needs to be dealt with properly. Education being number one. Number two, it's just really dealing with the psyche of the culture in the area. People need to get off of that big gun, big blow up everything culture and focus more into how to resolve problems, be it, the traditional way, your hands, not by your face. And if anything, I would prefer for you to face conflict with just your words and nothing else. We need to be teaching people to be kinder to each other. So guns, and when it comes to your AK-47s, AK-15, all those big guns that people are scared of, yes, I'd like to have them removed from the streets, but they're out there. So we need to be realistic about this. How are we going to manage this? How are we going to handle this? It's going to be a long process, but we'd like to figure out a way to get to the point where we have these guns removed from our streets. Thank you.
Okay. And Stephanie.
Thank you. Yes, I do believe that it is the responsibility of our state to control assault weapons. If not, we will see exactly what happened in Mexico when the Mexican cartel took over the streets because federal agents arrested one of theirs and they decided to go through and shoot up the streets till the law enforcement agencies had to turn them loose to save civilians' lives because assault weapons was in the hands of public citizens. We have the Second Amendment, and I am a Second Amendment supporter, but we also have a military that is responsible for protecting us. We have a police force who is here to protect and serve. That is where we hold accountability. Yes, I do believe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Bill, can you repeat the question for me?
Okay, so question is, do you believe the state should pass laws that put restrictions on assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines for civilian use? Please explain.
Yes, I do believe that the state should put restrictions on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. There's no reason for those to be available to the general public. They are weapons of war. They're not weapons of hunting or I suppose if you wanted to go to a gun range and use them, I can't see what use it would be, but I do know that removing those assault style weapons from sale would help safety, and I think that it is the responsibility of our legislatures to do what is safe and what is right and not what is popular. And so I would absolutely take the stand that high caliber weapons and it's not necessary. Those things are not necessary.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question will go to Stephanie first. How would you improve or modernize the state's transportation system?
Thank you. Thank you. Particularly here in Lake County, we are finding that transportation is an issue. I'm very glad that from 15 years ago that we are now being able to see buses in our area. We do see cabs. But for the state system, I would support the High Rail initiative that our former governor took off the table. We travel county to county to county. Most of us travel from Lake County into Orange County, all the way some of us go to Hillsborough County for employment, as well as we're the tourist state, right? So our people come here to visit, and they do Orange County, they do Hillsborough County, all of the attraction. High-speed rail would be a fantastic thing. We now have it going. We have the high speed that we're going to try from the north to south, but we need to do this east to west coast thing. That's the way we should go. Thank you.
Okay, next up with that question on transportation is Linda.
I think that we could do much better in transportation, and I think that I would go at it a little bit differently. Rather than having a big thing, I think that we could do a lot with a small 9 or 10 person van, a van type bus, and put those on the street. I think that especially here in Lake County, we have a lot of senior citizens that are going from home to the grocery store to the shopping, and we don't need a 80 person bus. We need a, you know, a 10 or 12 person situation that they can go back and forth on. If they don't, most of the communities, the senior communities, do not have their own bus system, so that we really do need to supply that and have that kind of transportation ready for them. Thank you.
Okay, and Ryan, transportation.
So as somebody who was born and grew up in New York City, I know that transportation is super important for a lot of people. And here in Florida, we do lack that infrastructure and that ability to be able to transport yourself around. It really does hurt people, and it puts people in poverty, because if they can't get around and get to work, then they're really not doing much. What I would like to see, well, I definitely agree with Stephanie. We need to see that high-speed rail come into life, you know, and really just help make those connections from the north to south. Now, when it comes to the east and west, yes, I'd like to see some high speed as well there. But, you know, I'd like to see something more future forward. I'd like to see something like, let's say, like Disney has with the People Mover. Like, we need to just think ahead. We need to stop playing catch up, and we need to think ahead. So that's the way I see this. We need to have a meeting of the minds and really come up with what is the best solution for everybody that's going to be eco-friendly, that's going to make sense, that's going to last long enough for us to be able to really get its value. So I look forward to really bringing new, fresh ideas into this whole transportation dilemma. And I'd like to really focus on the future and making sure that we get people to and from places much faster than they do right now. And it can't just be, you know, straight lines. It needs to be, because Lake County doesn't have any straight lines, so we definitely can't. We need that transportation that's going to take us, you know, from down in the Green Swamp up to 27, so we can buy some groceries. So we need to improve things, and that's one of them. Thank you.
Okay. And we are going to make this our last question of the evening. And it will go to Linda first. What have you done during your campaign to meet, listen to concerns, and formulate your respective legislative plan to address all constituents, including those who may have voted for the incumbent in the last election?
I have taken great pains to go to meetings, the Lake County Commissioners meetings, the Board of Education meetings, other meetings in the area, to try to hear and ascertain what are the issues that are important. And it doesn't matter what their political affiliation is to me. Again, I want to state that I am serious about trying to work bipartisan with people. I've made telephone calls and chatted with people that are on board levels to try to make myself available to them so that we can speak openly and friendly and try to come to some agreement about what we can do together to go forward in Tallahassee.
Okay. Ryan, you're next. How have you engaged the other people that might not be necessarily getting that ballot for the Democratic race?
So I've actually been pretty good about reaching out to other leaders in the area who are Republican and figuring out how we can communicate and compromise and really just be able to work together. A good example right now would be Doug Shields, who's running for county commissioner. Him and I have actually become good friends. He's a Republican, but we're both Boy Scouts. We have, you know, we come from the same cloth at that point. And so we're able to talk to each other and understand each other. And he's not the only one. There's many leaders across this great county, you know, from the business leaders to the religious leaders to all these folks that I've actually reached out to. I've been able to communicate with these people, you know, ever since I started my campaign. So it's been wonderful. And the feedback I get from them is great. So I take into consideration a lot of the concerns that they have. So they appreciate the fact that I'm able to listen to them without being partisan. My main goal is really, like I keep telling everybody, it's for the people. It's not for myself. We're doing this for you. I need to listen to everybody and treat everybody as fair and as equally as possible, which is not what our current representative is doing. I want to show a good example of what a good leader needs to be, and that is my goal. So thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Stephanie.
Thank you. One of the first things to be a representative, our campaign has talked about the people's platform, not my platform, not what other leaders think. The platform was built by talking to the people, not leaders of organizations, but people. How did we do that? We started out going to different of the festivals and things around the county, talking, but then we found out exactly what you said. We was only getting Democrats. So then we went to coffee and conversation, which we were able to have here locally before COVID-19. We had a coffee shop here in Claremont that we were able to engage Republicans, independents, just people coming in to have coffee. We had coffee and conversation. We took that online after COVID-19 and began to have weekly coffee and conversation. People would email us, they would go to our website, then we would call them and actually had one-on-one conversations. What you see as the people's platform is just that on our website. It's from the people, by the people. We are for the people. We want to represent the people. Thank you.
Okay. And thanks to our 3 candidates for appearing tonight and answering these questions. We really appreciate your time and effort and wish you well, endeavors. Also, thanks to all of our viewers who tuned in, and make sure you go to the polls, whether you vote early by mail or on the day of the election. That's the important thing. And don't forget our league's vote411.org as a great source for these races, all of the races where our people were good enough to respond. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll sign off now.
Thank you
very much
for having us.
Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, you too.